Hey, I'm Angie Cha-Cha, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Angie Cha-Cha.
So now we're in 2009.
And that's how I found you. There was a video.
That video.
And I was like, wow, that video really hit me. And I was like, it was very like emotional, you know?
Yeah.
I felt your pain when I seen that video. I was like, damn.
A lot of people have said that I've actually gained like a lot of followers because of that video. That video went viral. I think it's like at 500,000 something views now.
How did you meet this guy? And explain to me.
So I met him after I broke up with my last child's father. I stayed single and just focused on me and my children. And when it was like about a year later, because my son was he was 3 at the time when I met him, I went out one night to this comedy club, and I wasn't going to go out because I just was the type of person, I didn't really go out too much. I mostly stayed with my children and didn't too much, entertain people very much. I'm more like of a loner type of person as I've gotten older. So I go out to this comedy club because this guy knew he had some tickets. So he was like, hey, I got free tickets, do you want one, or they're just going to go to waste. And I was like, sure. I was like, hell, I could use some laughs. Let me go ahead and go. So I went to the comedy club, and it was me, him, and some other guy that he had invited. And so we're sitting at the table, and I got up to go get me a drink from the bar. And he was standing at the bar because there was no more seats to sit down at. And I had this purse that I made out of Crown Royal bags. And so that's what started a conversation, because he was like, is that a purse? And I was like, yes. And
those purple, the purple little bags. You made a purse out of it.
I made a purse I took multiple bags and put them together and made like a big bag out of it. And so he was so intrigued by it, and he was like, that is so cool. And he was like, you made that? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're really good. And he was like, that's very different. And so like we got to talking and stuff like that. And I was like, well, where are you sitting at? And he was like, well, he goes, there's not no more chairs. So unfortunately I have to stand up here at the bar. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks for you. And so then I ended up going back to my seat. And then the second time I got up to go get another drink, that's when he asked me if I wanted to go out to eat with him after the comedy club. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm going home to my children. And I was like, I'm not, I don't know you, So it's like, I was like, So then he was like, well, can I take you out tomorrow then? And I was like, sure. So I gave him my number. And he was not the type of guy that I would date, like totally opposite of what I was into. But as I got older, I told myself like that I needed to be more open-minded to who I'm dating, because I'm probably passing up some really good people because I'm too focused on the looks. Now, not that he was an ugly man. He just was 10 years older than me, bald-headed, and I'm in my 30s. This man's in his 40s. Like, I'm just looking at him like, no, like, you're just not my type. Like, I'm typically into people around my age or younger than me. So I was like, let me see where it goes. So he comes to my mama's house and picks me up, because I'm living with my mama at this time after me and the baby daddy broke up. Now I live with my mama again. So he comes and he picks me up and he takes me out and we go to a Mexican restaurant. And that I went back to the room with him and we had intercourse with each other. And the next day he goes to take me home. And that's when he tells me that he's married. And I was like,
Well,
yeah,
what?
yeah. I was like, oh, wow. I said, and you think you could have told me that before we did that? Because why would you wait to tell me that afterwards? And I said, that's deceitful. And I was like, because then you're not giving me a decision on whether I wanted to pursue something with you or not. And I said, because I'm not cool with that. So it was not very good. I was pissed off at him about that. But I liked him enough to keep contact with him. So we kept contact with each other and we would talk to each other on Yahoo Messenger. And this man would have me cackling so damn bad. And I've never had nobody be able to do that because I'm a real serious person. So it takes a lot to make me laugh. You have to be in person in front of me. I have to hear the sound of your voice and stuff like that to get a laughter out of me. And this man was making me laugh through the screen. So I was like, that's major. If somebody can make me laugh through a damn computer screen. It was so bad. I was in my mom had a finished basement, so I was down there. That's where I slept at. And then there was 2 stories above that, and my mom slept on the top floor. And one night she came all the way downstairs from the top floor and she was like, Angela, you need to shut the fuck up. I can hear you all the way upstairs. And I was like,
Yep. So was he actively married? Like he was
yes,
with?
he was actively married.
He was still with her.
And yes, but see, this was what he told me. He said, I know that it sounds bad. And he goes, but please listen to my side of the story. And I said, okay, shoot it to me. What do you got to say? So he was with this lady. They got married. She wanted to have children. He already had children that were grown and stuff, but she didn't. And so they're in their 40s, right? And she's wanting to have children. So they tried and she had a miscarriage and it was really bad. They both were really upset about it. And then so I think she tried again. She had another miscarriage. And by that time he was like, I don't want to keep doing this no more. So he told her, I don't want to continue down this path. So she told him, okay, I'll take birth control pills. Well, she lied to him and she stopped taking the birth control pills and she ended up pregnant again. And then the baby ended up staying this time, but it came out with Down syndrome.
Oh no.
So the baby comes out with Down syndrome and he's like, okay, it is what it is, I'm not cool that you lied to me and got pregnant, but the baby's here. We can't do nothing about it. We just got to deal with it for what it is. Well, he ended up finding out maybe when the baby's a couple months old, because she was in the military too. That's how they met each other overseas. Okay. So he ends up finding out she ends up getting stationed to Georgia and they're in Virginia they're stationed in Virginia at the time. So she ends up getting briefly stationed to Georgia and she's doing a lot of hanging out with this guy, watching movies with him and stuff like that. Oh, that's just my battle buddy. That's just my friend, type of thing is what she's telling him. Right.
Yeah.
Well, he just felt off about it and he ends up doing his little investigation and he goes and takes a trip to Georgia and finds out where this guy lives at and finds out that he has a wife and has a little talk with the wife. Come to find out they are cheating. They are having a affair. Okay. And so that left a bad taste in his mouth. So now he's sleeping on the couch. So at the time that he meets me, this is the time he's sleeping on the couch. He's only there to take care of his daughter and to help her because she got diagnosed with MS. So he's there to help out, because he doesn't want to just leave her like that with the baby. And she has a medical condition too. And then she's trying to take care of a baby with Down syndrome. So he felt bad, And
Yeah.
so I understood where he was coming from. I'm like, okay, I can get that, why you'd stay. But he said the emotions weren't there no more. Like he didn't want to be with her. So I said, all right, cool. It is what it is. I'm like, I'm gonna, I got this man that's willing to give me my own apartment, to take care of me and my children. So, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, come to Virginia so you can be closer to me. I'll get you your own apartment, stuff like that. I said, that's cool and all. And I said, but I don't want you paying for nothing for me. I said, I want something that I could afford myself in case me and you are going to end up done with each other. And I don't have to have no ties to you because that's what we not going to do. So he was like, okay, because he was wanting to pay for my rent and everything. And I didn't have to pay for nothing. But I told him, no, we not. I don't like none of that. No, because I don't like nobody trying to hold nothing over my head or try to
Control
like,
over you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
have control over me. I don't like that. So I was like, no, we're not doing that. And I said, I need something I can afford on my own in case something happens between me and you. I know me and my children are gonna be good because I don't know who the hell you think I am. I may be 10 years younger than you, but I'm not dumb, sweetheart. So he was like, all right. So he got me an apartment. He went, looked for me an apartment and everything and moved me and my children in there. And it was a 2-bedroom. And so me and my children are staying in an apartment, and then he's always over there all the time though, because mind you, like I said, he don't want to be over there at the house with her. So he's always over there all the time. And then he comes to me one day, a couple of months after moving me there, and he's like, he said, I was thinking, if you and the children will have me if I can move in. And I was like, so what does that mean with you and her? Like, are you done with her? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I choose you. I want to be with you. He goes, I don't want to do this. And I was like, all right, cool. So I talked to my children. They was cool with him staying. So then he came and he stayed in the apartment with us. And then we stayed in the apartment until the lease was up. And then he went and he looked for a house closer to the military base to rent out for us. And so I ended up moving into the house with him.
Now he
And
was in the military.
he was in the military
Yeah.
for over 26 plus years. But when I met him, he was retired from the military and he was actually an instructor at the time. And that's what he was doing in Kentucky. He had got stationed there briefly to instruct the military. So that's how I was able to meet him. But
Yeah.
he was originally stationed in Fort Lee, Virginia. And so I ended up moving into that house with him. While we was living in that house, he came home one day talking about some motorcycle club that he wanted to join, the motorcycle club. And I was like, what is this? Like, what is that all about? So he kind of explained things to me about how there's, social clubs, and then you have your 99% clubs, and then you have your 1% clubs. And he was like, you ever heard of the Hells Angels? And I said, yeah, I heard of the Hells Angels. And he goes, well, it's kind of like that, but it's for black men only. Like, this is just like how theirs is just all white men. This is for black men. And I said, oh, okay, that's what's up. That's cool. Like, I'm always down for black empowerment. Like, that sounds like something that would be nice for you to be a part of. And he goes, well, when I join, I'm asking you and talking to you about it first because I want to know if you will join with me. And he goes, but you'll be a member, but not really. Y'all women are considered what they call property of the club. And I was like, I don't really like that name, to that word too much. Like, property of what? Like, I'm not nobody's property. And I said, but like, if it's something that you want to do, like, I support you. I was like, sure. Like, because I've always been interested in motorcycles since I was young. Like, I actually had someone take me on a motorcycle ride when I was 14. So I was just like, hell yeah, like, we could do this. So we ended up joining, and I had the time of my life. I got to go to all kinds of different states. Whenever they would have anniversaries for that state, I got to go and travel, and I rode with him in all kinds of weather. It didn't
He's
matter.
in Virginia, right? When he joins.
Yeah, I was in Virginia. And so, like, it didn't matter if it was snowing, if it was raining. It didn't matter what the weather was. I was on that damn bike with him, and we was going places, and we had a great time. Those were like some of the best years of my life.
How
Was
long did he prospect for? Do you know?
he prospected for, I think, maybe like a year, until he actually, joined and became an actual member of the club. And because we ended up moving into another house after that, like, which was his house that he was living in with the wife, but the wife moved out. And so so she had moved out of the house because I guess she seen he ain't coming back home. So she left, and he went and took the house over and moved me and my children in the house. So yeah, they ended up actually staying married to each other, and they had to go through a process because they had the baby. So like they had to go through parenting classes like for a year before they could get their divorce. So their divorce was finalized that year that he passed away. He passed away in December, and they was divorced in April. And yeah, so he was like married, like we was together for 5 years. So he was like married to her like this whole time, most of the time that we was together. Yeah, it was crazy. But in Virginia, they consider it common law marriage. So like
If you're with somebody for how
for
long do you got to be? 5
5
years.
years or more, if you're with someone, it's considered common law marriage. So like his wife thought she was doing something when he passed away. She thought she had went to the JAG office and got a letter from an attorney to try to kick me out of the house after he died. And
Because you were living in the house when he died.
yeah, I was living in the house, and he
With
had
the kids.
refinanced it in his name. He had went and